Hello. It's been a while.
Live, that is.
Yes. Unless you count our vacation, which is actually what we're here for. We're going to give it another minute and give everybody time to hop on. I'm going to like and share, as you should like and share.
Please.
Do it. Per usual, as you're hopping on, please say hello and let us know that you are here. It's doing that thing where it's trying to get me to share it as the team. So
Hey, Leah.
I will wait. What?
Good to see you.
About time.
Oh, stop. And Jennifer, even though she hasn't said anything yet, so it's like I'm being weird and stalky.
Jennifer's used to that. She's the one that stalks people. If it's on Facebook or it's at Amazon, she knows about it.
Nothing wrong with being informed.
True. Try this one more time. Come on here. There we go. Cool. I didn't want it to look all redundant with, paranormal help sharing paranormal help and paranormal help liking paranormal help. That's
There's nothing wrong with liking yourself.
shameless self-promotion. I guess if you can't like yourself, you can't like others. It's like if you can't love yourself, you can't love others.
Yep.
Give this another minute or so. Oh, Jennifer wants me to come back to day shift. Come to the dark side. They don't have cookies, trust me. Slowly I've gotten used to the shift again. I think I'm doing better than I did last time I worked it. It's been 4 years ago that I started on nights, and I was hardcore nighttime life the whole time. Slept all day and worked and stayed up all night. This go around, I stay up my nights, but I'm able to wake up during the day on my off days and lead a fairly normal life, other than by Wednesday I'm ready to crash. But it's part of the adulting lifestyle. All right, we got a few people on here. You want to kick this off?
It's up to you.
Or do you want to? She's playing Tetris over here.
I'm moderating.
Or it's Solitaire, one of the two.
I'm
not sure.
moderating and handling these 2 messages.
We have 2 messages?
Yes.
Oh.
Jennifer said she couldn't do it again.
I didn't have a choice this go around.
No, I made him.
Yeah, she twisted my arm and it hurt. Is that Nick?
It is.
Mr. Whitman.
4. What's that?
I don't know.
An inside thing?
I don't know what it. Is it a typo? Or when
Are we supposed to duck?
4. I bet he's probably responding when I said there's a couple of people watching. He's correcting me.
Aw.
Typical.
Comment number 4.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, he's correcting you.
It's a hot night.
Woo!
Ooh, 5 comments.
What do we got? Oh, wow, we might get a subscription going on. So I know we said we've announced on several different videos that some of the videos I've done, and I know we did it on a couple of the lives on our week out on our road trip. We're trying to slowly move all of our platform over to YouTube. But we found out slowly. So we found out a harsh reality while we were out. we can't go live on YouTube until we get 1,000 subscribers. So there's over 1,000 people that like this page. Everybody will hop over and subscribe. We can get on it. Those of you that are watching, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. There is a link on the Facebook page that you can go to it. All of our lives get moved over there anyway, so please check us out. So what we're going to do on this particular live is just kind of a recap of our paranormal road trip and fun things, whatever you want to call our trip that we did. It's been a couple of weeks ago now. Lost track of time. As soon as I came back from work,
3 weeks.
Came back from work, it was hardcore overtime at work. So I don't remember yesterday as it stands. But just wanted to take this live to take the opportunity to just kind of recap and go over some things that we didn't cover in the live that we did. We went live multiple times, sent out pictures and updates while we were there. Had a lot of fun. But we can't do a Paranormal Live without, first of all, wishing you a happy July, even though it's June 30th.
Let's explain why that is.
So, once again, it seems that every first of the month falls on a day that I have to work now. So, I've taken up the task of doing the recorded videos that we post on YouTube. And those are fun and all, and I think we're getting good information out, but we're missing the interaction with you guys. And Leah's really missing the camera time. So we decided to go ahead and pop on today so we could actually do a live. We're doing it a day early. So that might be a thing going forward. If I've got to work on the 1st, we may schedule it around. I know we've always promised it would be the 1st of the month, but technically, it still kind of is the 1st of the month. This is the prequel to the 1st of the month.
Yep.
So, to that point, June 30th, which is today, is National Meteor Watch Day. Did you see that? Wow. We caught a meteor live.
It's a mouse.
This is also Social Media Day, which I think is more fitting that we've gone live today.
Oh, well then, I did good.
We'll do good with that one instead. Tomorrow being July 1st, so you're getting a double whammy because we're not doing it on the 1st. Tomorrow's National Postal Worker Day.
Ooh.
So leave your hot, suffering postal worker a bottle of water in the mailbox tomorrow and maybe a cookie.
Or a note of gratitude.
Yes. Please don't crush my boxes when you put them in the mailbox. That kind of thing.
Don't mention that, no. I appreciate your work.
But less than a week away, it's the 4th of July, Independence Day. Don't have to talk about that. Everyone knows what that is.
Sunday.
It's a Sunday. Fireworks. Independence Day. Oh. Our America tree right behind Leah's head there. And our flags up on the mantelpiece. We're very patriotic today. Even though it's not the 4th, we're a few days ahead. All right, so let's start this trip. So we started out leaving from Chattanooga, fun town. We went to Kentucky. It was Williamstown?
Williamsburg.
No, it's Williamstown. Williamsburg is a different town.
I don't know.
Williamstown, Kentucky.
I wasn't driving.
No, she wasn't. Went to the Williamstown, Kentucky, to a place called the Ark Encounter. This place was huge. It was a 2-scale, life-size replica of Noah's Ark. Astounding. I posted several pictures on my own page where I'm standing at the front of the bow of the boat taking a picture straight up, and you can just see how massive the thing is. And when you get inside, I think Leah posted some pictures from what the inside looked like.
I'm going to post some more pictures. Of course, I haven't had time to go through my camera roll. What I posted, I took on my phone, but on my actual camera.
So now they're going to play with the mouse toy.
On my actual camera, I have, I think, over 400 and something photos. So I will post when I get the opportunity to go through those.
She's not a photographer by any means, if you can't tell by that.
Yeah, Nick. Someone, Ray got a hold. She's hugging it. Ray has our meteor.
Makes noise. So, I recommend this place to anybody. It's a good place for the kids. It wasn't like a bad walking experience either. No stairs. Everything is built in a ramp incline as you go up. There were 3 different levels.
Well, there's a total of 4, but you only go on 3. You don't go on the very top level.
That's right. So as far as like exploring levels, there's 3, and as you go through it, it kind of just gives you an idea of what the life would have been like on the Ark. When you first go in, there's a big sign that says, basically, hurry, get on board. There's a storm coming. And then when you get inside, they've got like sounds of a thunderstorm, really, really loud playing. I mean, it sounds pretty realistic. Leah wanted to get a hammock and go to sleep.
Oh man, I love that.
But when you go into the base of it, it shows all the areas of where the animals would have been kept, and they've got the miniature cages, and each miniature cage had a sound effect inside of it, so it sounded like there were actually, one of them you walk up on, it sounds like there's a rattlesnake and all this other stuff. It was really cool. And as you walk through it, you see just, again, how life would have been, what their living arrangements would have been, what how they would have grown food, because they spent, well over a year living in this thing. And when you think about it, just reading it in the Bible, it's hard to kind of predict how they survived, how they dealt with all the animals, how they fed all the animals, how they kept everything. And this structure did a really, really good job of representing just how it could have been done. And it was really eye-opening to see just how everything could have been stored and kept up with in there.
Yeah, it was really nice. And there's a bunch of different theaters throughout the levels showing different programs that are kind of just on a continuous loop of information, or dramatizations and different exhibits around. So lots of neat stuff to look at and to read and to be engaged with. It was really nice and neat.
And then there was the area around it that was called Noah's Village. Had little eateries, gift shops, and live animals.
At a petting zoo.
Petting zoo. I got my hand licked by a goat. That was kind of weird. They had
when you stick it down there.
Yeah, they had camel rides. What else did they have? They had multiple different animals. I can't remember.
Oh gosh!
All of them.
So they had this.
Oh, I forgot about the
kangaroo pen, or not really a pen, but
it was called a walkabout.
Okay.
You just go in there and they're all loose, and you're in there with them.
Yeah, you just walk on the sidewalk, and they're just laying around, relaxing, and I mean, you're right there amongst them. When
you say laying around relaxing, we're talking like coma. These guys are just passed out.
One would roll over every now and then and scratch his belly. It was cute.
Look up at us like, who are you? Back to sleep.
But I'll post some of those pictures. I got some really good close-ups of them that I'll post too. And then they had lemurs and
the sloth.
And the sloth.
They move faster than you think they do.
Boy, he was getting it.
There was one of the workers was trying to catch him, and he's just hand over hand moving down this thing. I mean, he was moving pretty good.
Big tortoises and all kinds of birds and just a bunch of different animals, zebras and all kinds of stuff.
There was a burro. I remember the donkey.
And cows.
Of course.
Which around here we're used to seeing cows, but to other folks that's probably a novelty.
Right. So
it's cool.
Huge 5 stars. If you want to take the kids up there, good place for the kids. A lot of knowledge, a lot of information. Part of that, it wasn't on the site, but it's run by the same people about 45 minutes away. There's a thing called the Creation Museum, and we got tickets to that as well. It was a package deal. So we went to it, and it was really cool as well. They had just the grounds, the landscaping and the gardens that they had there were beautiful. And then when you go inside, it's a really interesting presentation of creation, and it gives you both sides. Here is the creationism aspect, and then here's the biblical aspect. And it says, You know, an example is, you know, what happens when we die? You know, creationists say, you know, basically we cease to exist and all this. And then the Bible says, you know, if we have salvation through Jesus Christ, we'll continue to live in heaven eternally with him. And it's, I mean, it's hard for me to talk a lot about this because it's really nerdy and I want to go into a lot of depth of it. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking, but I just liked how it gave both sides of the story. It just kind of said, make your own decision. But what I really liked was when it would say one thing about creationism, from the Bible perspective, it'd be like, it wouldn't be just, you know, well, here's a canned response or a blanketed response. It would cover every point and match up. Because, I mean, guys, if you study the Bible, if you look at it, you know, true science is not going to contradict the Bible. The Bible's not going to contradict true science. And it's just amazing how you see those two are married together in this museum. It was really nice.
Yeah, real cool.
And that's all she has
They
to say.
had a petting zoo too.
Yeah, they did. I think that was where the camels were there. The camels were not at the Ark. They were at the museum.
No, the camels were at the Ark because there was really huge camel that was.
Okay, that's right.
As you walked around,
They had some of the same animals, but they
Yeah.
had some different ones. And I think they had some of the birds were different, some of the other things. But overall, really, really nice. We want to go back actually because it was really too much to take in one day. It's something that you could really, if
we
you
weren't
were,
ready.
yeah, if you were to take your time through it, you could spend 2 whole days doing it.
Thought about going to see the Ark since kids are free this summer. Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely worth the trip. I mean, me personally. Yeah, the kids will enjoy it too. It don't matter what age they are. There was a lot of cool stuff. And they also had kind of a kids playground or type area set up for if you have, I don't know how old your kids are, but for younger kids and stuff.
Yeah, we kind of scooted past that because we didn't have any young kids with us. So, but they did have a really nice area for that. There was something else I was going to say about it too. But I couldn't remember.
You and the boys would love it, Beverly. You would. It's really cool.
There was something else I was going to say about it, and I lost it. Oh, and when I start talking about this, you'll probably jump in. What was really cool is that we did a virtual reality experience where we got to go in a time capsule to go back and see when they built the Ark. Well, at the end of it, you have this, what's supposed to be a hologram of the gentleman that built this place, Ken Ham, and he actually goes into kind of this explanation of how he feels like that there's 2 doors to salvation. The first door was the door of the Ark, because that was salvation at that time for that world. And then he said the second was belief in Jesus Christ. And it was just kind of amazing to hear someone actually say that in a public arena. You don't see that anymore anywhere. You'll hear, you know, people talk about God all the time, but to see something like that and them to actually talk about salvation in Jesus, that was really, really cool to see.
Yeah, there was another, I guess, theme park that is supposed to be biblically based and everything, and we visited that. Well, I did in the beginning years and years ago, and it was just really cool the way everything was set up, and it was Christ-centered. But the last time we went, which was a couple years ago,
that was my first time going.
Everything related to like saying the name of Jesus or anything specific or whatever was completely eliminated from. So it was just kind of disappointing, you know. But
I mean, it was a nice trip, but I would like to have seen it in its heyday.
Yeah.
Like she talked about.
But it had changed owners, so that's why it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after our 2 day, or we technically spent 2 days in Kentucky, because by the time we got to Kentucky, it was, you know, time to go to bed. And
it was, late at night.
we stayed one night, and then we got up and did everything, and then we stayed night, and we just picked up the next day to drive out to a little town called Point Pleasant, West Virginia. So along the way, we fell in love.
Can we stay out in the middle of nowhere?
Oh my gosh, yes. I've always heard, growing up about the mountains of West Virginia and the coal mines, and it was literally when we crossed the line from Kentucky to West Virginia, mountains, nothing but mountains, back roads, trees, country. I mean, nice, but having never been there before, it was a little bit of a shock when we got in there.
It was really cool though. Point Pleasant, you have the town, and then you have the river, and then on the other side of the river is Ohio. So you have West Virginia River, Ohio. Yeah,
because where Point Pleasant sits, it's at the nexus of the Ohio River, and I'm blanking on the other river. I couldn't pronounce it when we were down there anyway, but it's at the nexus of those two rivers. Once we crossed into West Virginia, we found a gas station.
Sheetz!
That we have kind of fell in love with. We've heard a lot about Sheetz through another show another paranormal show that we happen to follow, and
we just can't. I don't know if you know what we're talking about, but we just could not understand what is so special about Sheetz. Why is it always featured on every show that they post? And
now I know there's a couple of people that are watching that I work with that I have mentioned this show to them. So if they've had the opportunity to go and watch it, they know what we're talking about when it comes to Sheetz.
I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's just a gas station. I'm thinking of like Kangaroo and type quality stuff.
Mapco.
Yeah.
But this is one of the, it was for one, it was super clean when you go in, and they serve just about any kind of food that you can imagine. You go up to a little touch screen, you punch in kiosk what you want, and you go up front and pay for it, and then you wait, and then they bring it to you.
It's made to order.
Everything is made to order.
From tacos to hamburgers to mozzarella sticks to
fried
milkshakes,
Oreos,
fries, hot dogs, anything of all kinds of sandwiches, and I had no idea.
I went there. We stopped twice. The kids both got pizzas both time, and these were pretty decent sized pizzas. I got tacos the first time, and then the second time I got what's called an enchilada. And I've gone to Moe's and gotten their burrito that's about this big, about that long. This thing was, it was as big around as my forearm and about as long. I wasn't able to eat it in the first trip. I had to save it. But it's one of those things that somebody needs to open a franchise.
Oh my
here.
gosh, yes. The kids, for the rest of the trip, was like, is there going to be a Sheetz anywhere else around where we're going? I wasn't ready for it.
I mean, it's a combination gas station fast food joint. And when I say fast food, I mean, it's not even like your usual quality.
Have salads. I mean, it's just any category you could ever imagine.
Now, one of them, we stopped at two of them. I think it was the second one. It actually had a drive-through window. So if you weren't going inside, you could just drive around and pick it up. But, I mean, guys, good stuff. They're evidently all over the Virginia area. I don't know if there's any. I don't think there's any in Tennessee at all. You literally have to cross into the Virginias to experience this. So if we got any fans in Virginia or any of y'all are heading that way, find you a Sheetz. You throw a rock, you'll get one.
If you don't already know about it, but I'm telling you, I can't make fun of these people anymore.
I know.
I get it now.
Oh, we still can. I'm kidding. We'll find another reason to make fun of them. Anyway.
Every time it's a gas station. Why is this part of most of your show?
Right.
But, oh well, it was great.
And well priced too. I mean, it's nothing like majorly expensive, and you get your money's worth.
Nope.
So, we rolled into Point Pleasant, which, if you don't know what happened in Point Pleasant, it's where the Mothman originated. Now, the funny story is the Mothman Prophecies, the movie, wasn't filmed anywhere near Point Pleasant, West Virginia. It was actually filmed in Pennsylvania. But this one was a little different for us. It was kind of a bucket list thing. When we realized we were going to Kentucky and we realized that Point Pleasant was less than 3 hours away, we're like, we can't miss this. We've got to go. We're not usually cryptid hunters by any stretch of the imagination. We, for the most part, don't believe in a lot of cryptids because some of them are just way out there. But we thought, if we're going to be that close, we're going to go check out Point Pleasant. We're going to go check out, where the Mothman came from. And for those of you that don't know, just kind of a quick history lesson. The Mothman was first sighted back in November of 1966 near at the time it was a TNT munitions plant, and people still call the area the TNT plant where it was sighted. It was sighted by a couple of teenagers out on a little lover's lane ordeal. This thing resembling a huge Birdman is what they originally called it, with bright red eyes come flying at their car. There's a lot of theories as to what this thing is.
I mean, as big as like a 10 foot wingspan.
Yeah. Which is kind of funny if you think about it, because when they describe how big this thing is, between 6 and 8 feet, depending upon the reports, with a 10-foot wingspan, shouldn't be able to carry itself. That's not big enough wings for the size of the height of this thing. So I don't know. There's been theories that it's just a misidentified bird, because the place where the TNT plant is now, is now a wildlife preservation area. And there's a lot of different cranes, herons, and stuff like that out in that neck of the woods, no pun intended. So there's people that have said that it might be that. It does resemble, in many of the sketches, a certain species of owl. So there's been said that maybe it was that, but how they saw a 6-foot owl is...
I don't want to meet up with that.
Neither do I. Right across from where the TNT plant is, there is a chemical plant of some sort. I don't remember what kind of chemical they produce, but there's a plant right across the river, and there's theories that this is something that came from chemicals in the water, this thing's mutated, what have you. But the first thing it got encountered was in November. And then fast forward almost a year later to December 15th of 1967, you have the collapse of the Silver Bridge. Now, there's a lot of people may be familiar with that because it was one of the biggest bridge disasters in the United States. There were 46 people, I believe it was, that died in this accident. It was due to an eye-bar failure. When it failed, the whole bridge fell in. There are many people that says that the Mothman was sighted on the bridge right before it collapsed, and therefore he's been labeled as a harbinger of doom. Has not been seen in Point Pleasant since, and you can do your own research on this, but he's been sighted
all
over the U.S., allegedly in Chicago, places down south.
There was another bridge that collapsed, and they were saying around that time frame that there were sightings in that area too, like in another state. So
he's labeled kind of as a herald. If something bad's going to happen, and you're going to see him. We didn't, except we saw the statue. The statue out in the middle of the town square was really cool. The thing's made of solid stainless steel. It's got red eyes on it with mirrors inside, so at nighttime, it's got a spotlight that glows on it. The eyes glow. And then right next to it is the world's only Mothman Museum, which we, of course, went. Checked it out. It had a lot of interesting information, a lot of the newspaper clippings and everything from that area. What we got?
I happen to have an awesome coffee cup from the Mothman Museum. No doom drinking my morning cup of joe. Nope.
So, there's a lot of the newspaper clippings. There's a lot of costumes that people have worn over the years. There's a lot of movie props from this. There was the
signed things from the actors.
If anybody has seen this movie, there's the scene where Richard Gere is on the phone with the Indrid Cold character, and he says in his hotel room, and he's trying to determine whether this thing can read his mind or not. And he reaches in the drawer, and he's on the phone, and he says, "What do I have in my hand?" And the thing says chapstick, and he's holding a chapstick. They've got the phone that he was talking to him there. I think I already said they got the uniform that the police officer lady was wearing. Whole bunch of stuff.
And a bunch of the original documents, like police.
Oh yeah, I
Where
forgot about that.
the sightings of people, writing their statements for the police when they reported it. They have those as well. I mean, the handwritten ones. It's a really cool and thorough, intense type of collection. It's something to see.
It's not very big, but like she said, it's very thorough. And it wasn't, it was like $4 a piece to go in. It wasn't very much at all.
Yeah, very much worth it.
We spent more in the gift shop than we did actually going into the thing. But while we were there, they had directions on how to get to the TNT plant. So, of course, we went. So when we got up there, the area, you can tell it's a wildlife reserve. There's birds and everything all over the place.
And a sign that says you're entering into wildlife.
Yes. There, where we parked and went in, there was a huge pond that had, it was like green and had...
well, that's debatable.
What?
Looked like a sewage dump.
Well, that's where I was going with. They had a lot of algae
Yeah.
on the top of it, so it was really green.
Very stagnant.
There were people out there fishing in it, though.
Ooh.
So as we're walking along, we found the
Who found it?
what were they? What would you call them? Leah found bunkers. I couldn't think of the word. The bunkers that originally held the munitions when this place was an active TNT plant, and there were two of them, but
They're
one
huge concrete type domes.
Yeah, it was like we've heard the term igloo used, and that's kind of the best description of this thing.
Yeah.
When we went inside, I of course went in first to make sure that there's no bugs, spiders,
Yeah, I don't do any of that.
or homeless people, because that was kind of my fear, is that there might be somebody living in this
I was
thing.
more worried about bugs.
Leah can deal with the homeless; she can't deal with the bugs.
No, spiders. No.
So I went in, and this thing is huge, and it's empty. There's nothing in it, but the acoustics, it was creepy.
Creepy.
As every time I would walk, just my footsteps echoed off every. Yeah,
Like the Michael off of, wasn't that his sound?
Jason.
Oh, yeah. whoever. Yeah.
Literally that kind of sound as we're walking
Seriously.
through there.
But when you talked, there was not an echo. Only when you're walking. And have you reviewed those video or the...
Not all of it, I haven't caught anything.
Because I wonder if it translated in the video. If you saw our lives when we were inside of the bunker, you might know what I'm talking about. So I don't know if when we're talking you can tell that there is a heavy echo or not, or only when we are walking or something, if it picks it up. I'm not sure, but...
I've got a piece of the audio right here. You want to listen to it real quick?
Hurry up.
Okay. Well, let's see.
Make sure you choose the right thing now.
Right.
I don't know what you got on there.
Starting the recording. It's 6:38 p.m. We are in a bunker.
Put it up close.
So
Can y'all hear that?
really quiet. Okay.
I mean, there is some echo to our voice, but I hope it's
I'm just doing
we
audio.
walk or something.
You can leave the light on if you want to. Is there anybody or anything that wants to communicate with us? That was me taking a step.
See how weird, like the voices are,
They're
typical.
Like a typical echo.
But that step that was just one very slight step. It's so weird. No, we're not.
Oops.
He's up now.
Double the Leah. So
But you can, where are those videos at? Are they on YouTube? Or I don't know where I posted them at. So they may be on Facebook, they may be on YouTube, they may be on both. But if you get a chance to, check them out, I encourage you to do so.
So while we were there, and of course I didn't tell Leah the significance of this place while we were going there, and
I thought he was going to kill me.
it
Right in front of the kids.
It did kind of look like an area where the movie Wrong Turn may have been filmed. That's how backwoods this really
You
was.
could so hide a body in that area. Not giving suggestions, but I'm just saying it was that.
I mean,
secluded
it was so
and weird.
bad that if you were catching our lives, we kept losing signal. I think at one point I even said something about us dying, and then we lost signal. So I had to hop back on, like people were not dead. So I didn't tell Leah anything about what was going on here, and she had a few things that she picked up. Do you remember? Now, this is not me putting her on the spot, guys. You know that whenever she's in the moment, sometimes she doesn't remember. When it's after the fact, she doesn't remember.
I remember that I picked up something Native American, but I don't remember the details. I know I gave details, but I don't remember my details.
So she had a really interesting kind of concept that there was something there, Native American, that was guarding something there, and that it.
Oh,
You said it took forms. It took different forms or something.
right. It'll. I guess what would be like it shows itself as animal-like, but it's it's there because the area was sacred, or what was the other word I used?
Sacred was the only.
It was a sacred place, Native American area, and it had been desecrated, or it had been disturbed, and so this thing comes out as I don't know if it's really a guard, because it's already, the place has been desecrated or fooled with, but it's more of a like a curse. It's there to I guess wreak havoc or retaliation to whoever's in the area, because it has been cursed for the wrong that's been done to whatever was Native American there.
Right. So we're not one to connect dots just to make something make sense, but when you think about the description of the Mothman being animal-like, anybody that went down, and there were a couple, there was the first sighting with the people out on Lover's Lane. There were a couple of other people that saw it in their yard and whatnot.
I remember.
So there was, it has an animal form. Go ahead.
Sorry, no. What I was seeing there that was of the Native American type was people had seen it there, but it was not the Mothman. It's two separate entities. I remember that. Like, it's not the same thing. Like, I don't think whoever was there actually saw that the Mothman there. I think it was something completely separate. Maybe that's why some saw it more as a bird type figure, and others saw it, the sketching's a little different.
Right.
Like, they're similar but not the same. But anyway, what I saw was more of like a totem type animal creature, that you'd see on a totem pole, to that degree. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, she just kind of she kind of said what I was going to say is, is it possible that maybe that's what some of the Mothman sightings have been? Because she also didn't know this, the whole area was steeped in Native American lore. There's actually in that area several Native American burial sites, which would be considered sacred to the tribes. So Is that what some of the people that have saw the Mothman over the years have seen? Who knows?
Right.
We didn't go into it a lot while we were there, but there have been, because again, this is not our territory at all, but have been multiple UFO sightings in Point Pleasant. Again, falling back on this movie takes a lot of artistic licenses, as most Hollywood movies do. It talks about how that the Mothman and Indrid Cold are the same person. But Indrid Cold was actually a character, not a character, but he was allegedly an alien from another planet that they called the Grinning Man. And he
didn't it speak to people telepathically?
Yes.
Okay.
Wore a green suit, not too far off from this color that I'm wearing right here. Dark skin, slick back hair, always had a very expression on his face, which is creepy regardless if you're human or not. But that was also a big deal in that area. So whole lot of stuff going around. From a historical aspect, we've also got what was considered, at least by the people of Point Pleasant, the first battle of the American Revolution was fought there between of the local militia and some Native American tribes. So
it was the French, wasn't it?
The French, that's right. Because there's some argument as to whether it was the start of the American Revolution or the end of another war. I think it was called Lord Powell's War, which was a war between the French and Native Americans in that area as well. So depending upon who you ask, if you ask the people of Point Pleasant, it was the first battle of the American Revolution. You go out on the river and they've got murals painted.
Beautiful murals.
The same person that made the Mothman statue also made statues of Chief Cornstalk, who was the Indian leader there, and several other people there along the river. Really, really nice. There's a big amphitheater where you can sit. There's a mural. Now they've got it blocked off now with a river wall to prevent flooding.
And I'll post those pictures too, sorry.
But they've painted a mural exactly where the Silver Bridge used to be, going across the river. So when you're sitting in this little parking lot area where the memorial is at, you look up and you see this mural and it looks like you're looking at the bridge going over the horizon. Now they did build another bridge a mile, I guess that would be upriver.
Yeah, it's called
the Silver Memorial Bridge. And it's a different type of bridge. It's what's called a cantilever bridge, which is, kind of what we see here in the Chattanooga area. It's the bars that are leaning upon each other instead of a suspension bridge, which is what the Silver Bridge was, the original, which led to it, part of the reason it collapsed.
Yeah.
So while we were there, we got to stay in a hotel called The Low. Built in 1901. It was originally the Spencer Hotel, and it was renamed in 1929 when the Lowe family bought it. It was a place for the highfalutin society to go hang out. Only the finest of the fine stayed there. Unfortunately, in the 30s, whenever the Depression hit, the stock market collapsed, it did affect the hotel. But the people that own it now have done a really good job of retaining its splendor and trying to get it back to its original layout.
Yes, they have an art gallery and all kinds of really beautiful sitting rooms that have different pieces, antique pieces in them, and just it's really beautiful hotel with a lot of things to just even look at and explore. The owners are just super nice, very personable. They love to talk about, the old days and just about the history of the hotel. And I mean, they can just give you so much information. And even the coolest part is your hotel room keys are skeleton keys. So that was really neat.
So the way that this, at the current time that we were staying there, they were only having visitors on the 3rd floor. But there's your 1st floor, which is your main lobby area, the 2nd floor, which is rooms, 3rd floor, and then the people that own it actually live on the 4th floor. So this is a pretty decent sized hotel.
Yeah. You would never know by the outside of it that the inside looks like it does. The outside just looks like a business office type building. I mean, it's still nice. It's a nice building, but for the antiquities and the, I guess, kind of I mean, you can tell that it's like dated back in a time. You know, that's just really cool the way everything is laid out and all the different things they have that you can just look at and explore.
So guess what?
What?
The hotel's haunted. Or at least it's reported to be. So some of the reports.
Disclaimer, if you do go, the owners are not too, I mean, they're okay with discussing some of that stuff, but they're not really keen on that being a focus. So they just want to maintain the
vintage luster.
The vintage luster as it is, and they don't really like a lot of paranormal focus. Just letting you know.
So it's not a place that you can go, load it down with equipment and set up in the middle of the hallway and turn all the lights off.
Right.
So those of you that saw our live, what little we did, you saw I walked through, I had a recorder, did a couple of experiments with a ball to see if anything would play with it, and I kept all the lights on. So, I mean, it was nothing that, would have drawn a lot of attention to anybody out of respect for the people that own the place. So, several different reports coming out of there. Now, do I want to share? You want me to share the reports there, or do you want to talk about what you saw, what you dealt with first?
Well, are there specific areas that because I don't remember, but if you'll
Well, I'll just go through.
pick a place, it'll trigger my memory.
We'll go through here. So, the big one that I left a recorder in there, and I have, unfortunately, due to work and everything else, I have not got to finish the review of it. But there is a little tea room that, if you're sitting down in the lobby, there is a mezzanine type thing up on the second floor, and it's faces towards the main street, and it's a little tea room. There's a TV up there, which of course wouldn't have been there back in the day, but a piano and all this other stuff. And there is reports that there is a lady in a nightgown that is seen up there, and she's dancing to music that only she can hear. And of course, with every woman ghost, report, there is a story behind it.
Was that her wedding day?
No, so she was a woman. Her name was Juliette Smith or Julianne Smith. She was the daughter of a very prominent socialite in the area. She had fallen in love with a young man that her father didn't approve of. So they weren't allowed to be together. So he moved on. The boy moved on and married another, but she never married to her dying day. Now there's no, she offed herself or anything like that, like there is in most stories. But allegedly, that is her.
There's the romance talking.
Yeah. Beautifully committed suicide. I don't know. But she's supposed to be seen up there dancing and moving about. So I wanted to get an audio recording to see if maybe I could pick her up. Maybe I could pick up the music that she's allegedly dancing to. But I have not been able to finish that review yet. So information forthcoming. Let's see. If you go up on the third floor, which is where we were staying, there is supposedly a...
So we're not comparing?
Oh, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. What did you get in that area?
Okay, so...
I thought you were just going to jump in. You normally did.
Anyway.
I'm just messing with you.
So, what I got was, I didn't get just one person. I got... it was a room full of people, and you could hear the clank of silverware against dishes and things like that, and you could hear the low hum of conversation. But also heard piano playing, actually an orchestra with stringed instruments and everything that was live. It was live music, and that there were people dancing in that area also, but I didn't just get one person alone. It was just kind of like I would think a typical day would be back in the day. So that's what I got.
I'd forgotten about that. I'm sorry, that's the reason why I kept moving on.
No.
See, even I forget sometimes. Okay, so moving up to the third floor, which is where we were. There's actually quite a bit of activity up on the third floor. I don't know which room it was supposed to be in. I wasn't able to get that information, but there's a suite up on the third floor where allegedly you are visited by the spirit of a guy in a captain's, like a riverboat captain's outfit. And they believe it was the ghost of Captain Jim O'Brien. He was he captained a boat that docked in that area. And whenever people see him, he is waiting on his ship to come in. Aren't we all in some way? But he's waiting on that. Now, I don't believe we saw anything along that area. But there's also reports that you'll sometimes see someone in a maid's outfit.
Oh?
Or a bearded man in 1930s attire. Now, I know you had something close to that.
In that...
Just in the third floor area.
Well, there was one of the hallways that, luckily, it worked out we didn't stay on that hallway. We were originally going to stay in a room on that hallway, but we had to switch rooms. But anyway, I didn't stay long enough to pick up anything down that hallway, but you could feel the like the darkness of that area. Now it seems like there was something I picked up in one of those rooms that we were looking at to pick out which one. I can't remember. He's supposed to be writing this stuff down when I say it.
So, in room 309, which we were this close to getting to stay in, it's their most recently renovated room, and the only reason we weren't able to get into it is because they didn't have enough beds for everybody. They had a fold-out couch, which I ain't sleeping on a fold-out couch.
And we had two teenagers, my son and his girlfriend.
Right. So we missed getting to stay there, but evidently in room 309 there is people that have been in that room. They'll see a woman kneeling on the edge of the bed, and they said that she's always kind of just looking down. She's wringing her hands like she's distraught. She's upset for some reason. There's also reports in that room of seeing up underneath the blanket a hump that's shaped kind of like a child, and that it moves kind of like, maybe there's a kid up in there playing hide and seek or something. But we didn't get to stay in that room, and we only spent enough time in there to walk around.
I got something because that's why I nixed it.
Yeah.
But,
and that's all. And that's all I remember you telling me, is that there just wasn't something right about that room. You didn't give me any specifics on it.
Okay.
Now the room we did stay in, as we had put all of our stuff down, we actually ended up in 301. So as we put our stuff down, we decided to go do a little exploration of the hotel, and there were multiple sitting rooms throughout the whole place, and there was one that when we walked in, it had a lot of games, little board games and stuff that you could play. It was the library area, and they had sitting on a little table a book, and we happened to open up the book, and it was people that had stayed there sharing experiences, and not all of them paranormal. But it was interesting that there was a report about the room we were staying in. And Leah starts to read the book. I had to take it away from her. It's like, you can't read this yet. So in room 301, the way the room was designed is you had two rooms basically that were adjoined by a hallway. Or not even a hallway, it was just a door. Leah and I stayed over here in this room. The kids were over here. They had their two beds. And the bathroom was in their room. But there's a doorway in between. This lady who had stayed on Halloween night of the previous year, 2019, reported that she woke up in the middle of the night and she saw a man, the silhouette of a man standing in the doorway between the two rooms. At first she thought it was her husband until she rolled over and noticed her husband was still laying next to her. So she said that her husband did not have any, didn't see anything in the room. Nothing happened to him, but she visually witnessed this apparition standing in the doorway. And now I know you said that you had seen something similar in the room while we stayed in there.
Well, actually, I had a migraine. So that's why if you watch the videos, I wasn't exploring around with him late at night because I had a migraine. So I had had enough by that time frame. And I didn't have my medicine with me that I usually have.
We'd spent a lot of time in the previous 2 days outside, and if she's in the heat for a really long time, it aggravates that migraine.
And I was so sunburned and I don't tolerate heat. Anyway, so
it's the cats coming in.
Oh, okay.
We've got a new pet door that we're not used to the sound of, and they make
Sounds
a lot
like
of
a
noise.
door slamming.
Sounds like a regular door slamming.
Okay, so, all right. So as I was laying there trying to rest and relax and kind of cool down, I never did open my eyes because it was warning me to. It was kind of just taunting me to. But I didn't see it in the doorway or anything, but when I had my eyes closed, I could feel it like standing over me and kind of bending over me as I was laying in the bed, and it just kept getting closer. You know how when you're in the room with somebody and somebody comes up close to you, you feel that somebody's there. Well, it was that feeling. So I never did open my eyes, but I could see what he looked like. He was, an older gentleman, and he was tall. And he was just bending over me, kind of like, I dare you to open your eyes or whatever. And I just started praying, and I was like, I'm not feeling good to deal with you, so back off. And he eventually backed off. But yeah, it was a unnerving sensation.
And I didn't find out about this till the next day. She didn't tell me until after the fact.
And a lot of times I don't do that because in the moment you're just trying to not give it. I mean, if you're dealing with things too, this is something good to use yourself, but you don't want to give it recognition, because if you do, then a lot of times it'll just persist and keep on bugging you or tormenting you or whatever. So I was just trying not to give it any type of recognition or any notice, so it would go away. So that's why I don't talk about things in the moment sometimes. I'll wait, let all of that pass, and then I'll talk about it.
Sometimes she scares me when she does that, because I'll ask her what's going on and she won't answer me. And
Well,
I've had to learn.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's just so overwhelming that you can't acknowledge anything at that moment. You're kind of putting all of your energy and your effort into just keeping whatever it is at a distance and away
Right.
from you.
No,
So
I understand.
you don't want to answer questions. I don't want to talk about it right now. And then
Right.
I will eventually talk about it when I feel safe and released to do so. If that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. So, wrapping this one up, so one of the other last reports of the place was that there were, the spirit of children. We got the child that hangs out under the bed, and there's evidently a child that rides a tricycle around. Hence the reason I took the little cat toys with me to see if I could get some interaction. No interaction. Now, I had a couple of people online that night that were telling me I should have brought candy with me, which wasn't a bad idea, and I've taken note. Next time I go on a hunt where there's the spirits of children, I am going to take some candy to see if we get any interaction.
We might need a snack.
We might need a snack too. But I didn't get anything from there. But one thing that there were no reports on But it was an interesting thing. And out of these sitting rooms, and some of you are not going to know what I'm talking about when I get to this, but there was one really big sitting room that had this really long couch in it.
It was an L shape.
And it was this weird color of green. I mean, it was clearly, from the 60s. It was originally owned by Lorne Greene. Now, if you don't know who Lorne Greene is, go watch Bonanza and several movies, westerns of that time. But Lorne Greene was one of the main characters in the TV show Bonanza. And that couch belonged to him. There's a picture of him in there and everything else. Well, also in this room, there is a fireplace. And Leah got a really big hit while we were in that room.
Big hit. So, a woman that, of course, she, every time when I mention stuff like this, it sounds so cliche because, you're a woman in white or whatever. Well, this lady was not in white, but she was like the old Victorian hairdo, with the big bun and poofed up hair. And it wasn't white, but it was like a light or a cream colored, it was a lighter color dress. And then there was a really wide sash that went around the waist. And of course it was a long dress and everything. She was standing against the mantle.
Just hanging out.
Just hanging out, going, sup.
Now, she didn't feel anything malicious at the time.
No, it felt like it was just kind of like a residual.
That's a question I didn't mean to ask. Yeah. Was it one of those, like, we just happened to catch this woman hanging out, or was it she appeared for a reason?
No, she wasn't, like, interactive or anything like that. It just felt like old energy.
Right. I think, yep, that is everything we had on the low. Interesting night, really nice hotel. I mean, like I said, the plane was built in 1901, so it's 120 years old.
Very reasonably priced.
Oh yeah, it was like staying in a hotel around here somewhere.
I mean, it's just the atmosphere and the owners. I mean, when I checked in, they're like, oh yeah, before, like they have quiet time after 10 o'clock, to not upset any or disturb any other people that may be staying there. They don't want people running through the halls or
we were the
turning
only people
out
there,
lights
by the way.
and ghost hunting and stuff like that. But she's like, yes, before you go to bed or whatever, if y'all want to come down, then we can, open up the bar and have a nightcap. And I mean, it's just so old time,
yeah.
That it was just cool.
They said two of the gentlemen that work there. They said there's a little window area, kind of like I don't even know it's almost like a sunroom. It's in the lobby.
It looks like a storefront window.
Yeah, but they just sit there most of the day and talk.
Just talk, shoot the bull.
Yeah, I mean
cool.
It's really cool, and it's right across the street is the Mothman Museum.
Yeah,
and then the statue.
Yeah.
So it's a good little stop if anybody wants to try that out. So from there we left and we came back into Tennessee. And we hit this little town that I've been promising Leah that I would take her there for years. Little town called Rugby. So Rugby was built back in the 1880s. It was built by a man by the name of Thomas Hughes. He is known for you literary gurus out there. He wrote the book Tom Brown's School Days and the subsequent sequels. There were actually 3 of them, and I didn't realize that. But I've heard of Tom Brown's School Days. It was his idea to build this as kind of a utopian society.
British.
Because he was a member of Parliament and all this other stuff. It was for England's second sons. Because in that time frame, if you were the firstborn son, whenever you got to a certain age, or whenever your father passed away, you were the one that took over the family business. You were the one that got the inheritance. And then if you were the second-born son, you were just out of luck. More or less.
You're like your profession was like a gentleman.
Yeah.
Of leisure and.
So, as a second son, they wanted to give these guys a place to actually be able to make something of themselves. So they picked this area in the back hills of Tennessee and created this little society. And what it was supposed to be is they come in, they work, They, plow the fields and all this stuff, and anything that basically it was
Everyone owns a piece of the town.
right. It was. I don't want to say communal living, but it was very much that aspect. Everybody, what was grown in the fields was shared amongst everybody, and it survived, and it lasted a few years successfully until a typhoid epidemic hit in about 1887 and wiped out a huge amount of the town. So sorry, the mouth has been running too long. Leah really likes the Victorian architecture and stuff like that, and the buildings that are still there are still, everything in that area is still in that structure. There are 17 buildings still standing from the original village, and there is an area where people still live. Now the population of Rugby currently is 85. And of 85, 40 people live there full time. The rest have other homes elsewhere. Any new construction built in the area has to be built in the Victorian style. It's part of their city bylaws. So you've got the 17 original buildings of the village, and then you've got the other houses that people live in. And we got to drive through that area.
And even the same paint colors and things. It's very, specific.
So when we went up there, with the intention that we were just, it was a photography stop, because
and it was,
it totally was. So I did a little digging, and evidently Rugby also is considered a very haunted town. Mostly because of the typhoid epidemic. Everyone wants to lay down the fact that many people that died at one time, clearly there's something attached, as far as that amount of death and that amount of time. So did some digging, and there's a cemetery up there that we didn't visit the cemetery, but there's supposed to be a lot of activity around that. We're not cemetery hunters, that was my teen years. But there's other reports in the area.
I still like to visit them, especially old ones.
Right, and I can't remember why we ended up not going. It might have been because it rained that day and we didn't want to go sloshing up in the mud. But because when we did the tour of the town, it was a walking tour. But again, it's only like a block square. So
the town is so small that the walking tour was 30 minutes.
Yeah.
To see all the buildings and to go in and explore in the buildings and everything. Just to give you an idea of how small it is.
Right. So the high point as far as paranormal in the town was this place called the Newberry House, which the Newberry House was the...
I had no idea when I booked this place.
Yep. I didn't tell her nothing. Didn't tell her till we got there. But the Newberry House was the kind of the, like, I don't want to call it the inn because it was a boarding house. That's the word I was looking for. It was the boarding house of the town. Now, it had an inn that actually, I can't remember the name of it, but they had built the inn twice, and both times it burnt down. It was an inn/tavern. But the Newberry House was the boarding house of the town. Well, now it's a bed and breakfast, and Leah got us booked there.
Had no idea.
So we got to stay in the Thomas Hughes Suite, which is named after the founder of the town. It was also the biggest suite. There were, I think, 6 other rooms upstairs. The cool thing was, though, we were the only people in the bed and breakfast.
Yes.
And it's not like your traditional bed and breakfast. There was nobody there, It was just us.
There wasn't an overseer. Like you...
Go ahead,
just
share this.
So, this town is only open from, excuse me, from Thursday till Sunday.
Yeah.
That's the only time the town is open. So we went up Wednesday night, and I was given my instructions of how to get access into the place because no one's there in the town because it's closed. So they put all of your packet. There's a visitor center in the middle of town, and they put your visitor packet along with all your information and everything in a little mailbox thing that's beside the front door. And then you go pick it up, and then it has all the information that you need of how to, get into. And
your key is in
Yeah,
this.
yeah. So, I mean, everything, it's just, it was so bizarre. I've never, we didn't see anybody. We got access in, and And then once we got there, we realized, oh, hey, we are the only ones staying here tonight, which was really nice. So we kind of we did have the run of the house the whole time.
And before I go any further, the irony of this, so I did a couple of pictures. I think Leah did more, which she'll post. I did a full walkthrough of the house on live, and the most modern area in the house was the kitchen.
Yeah.
But there was a really nice sitting room with a fireplace. The rooms, the bed was really, really nice. Just everything.
It was a sunroom, and it had all Victorian furniture in it. It was just all kinds of antiques.
Yep, and it was stocked up with board games and music and stuff like that.
And what was really cool, the only TV in the place was it was in the sunroom, and it's a very, very small TV. So it really encouraged, like the kids wanted to play, I think Monopoly is what we wound up doing, and some card games. But, it was just really nice for them to want to engage in that instead of sitting on the TV or on their phone. But they really had a good time, and it was the least electronic place that we went to.
And the least electronic, but it was also the best Wi-Fi signal we had on the trip, because we actually had our own router in the room or in the house. But like she said, the kids wanted to socialize and sit out on the little sunroom with us. It was going to storm that night. We got a little bit of rain. In the backyard, and those of you that got to watch the live, there was a pond sitting back there. And I know somebody said that they saw a young girl. I don't know if that wasn't anybody that's watching right now or that I've seen pop on, but one of our viewers said that they saw a young girl in a dress hanging out by the water back there. I didn't tell Leah that, but we walked back there, and I don't believe you picked up anything like that. I don't know if you picked up anything.
Not
at the
by
water.
the lake. Mm-mm.
So back in the house, the main story there was a gentleman by the name of Charles Oldfield. He did a lot of traveling, did a lot of business in the Rugby area, so he would stay at this boarding house. Well, he stayed in one of the rooms upstairs, and there's actually a room up there named after him. And he passed away in that room while waiting on his wife to arrive. He got there first, and his wife was supposed to come there after. Well, anybody that has had an encounter with him, it's generally female. And when I say female, it's a female. When I say single female, I don't mean necessarily that they're single. It's a woman by herself sleeping in the bed. They'll get the sensation of a man that comes and, touches them and looks over at them. And what it is that they believe that it's Charles looking for his wife, because she was supposed to meet him, but he died before that got to happen. So that's the main experience in that house. I didn't, I had no experience,
that.
but I was going to lean over here to Leah with her experience.
Yeah, I experienced that. As soon as I laid down and turned off all the lights, then, I felt that it was a man coming and right beside the bed and just leaning over and just, standing there.
Which kind of debunks the whole theory that it only happens to single women, because we were in the same bed. So I guess any woman that comes in maybe can have that happen. But, I mean, as far as any other activity in the town, and I never shared this with you, there was...
But I described him. And
you did, but I never was able to find a picture of him.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead and describe it.
I don't remember.
Well,
I remember I described
we had come to the conclusion that it was either going to be... she bought a book with pictures of all these people in it. Charles Oldfield was the one that had passed in it, but there was a married couple, the Kellogg's, that owned the bed and breakfast, and there's also been reports they've been seen there as well. So we weren't sure if maybe we were seeing Mr. Kellogg or Mr. Oldfield in the room, but can't find pictures of either one of them.
I don't know. I just kept getting the gentleman, and he
pictures
stayed
of her.
to the front, around the front door, that kind of vestibule as you first walk into the front door, and then into the master suite, which is just to the right of that front door.
Right.
So he stayed in that area.
But I remember you telling me more about that now. All right, and then the last thing that, we never experienced this, or at least I didn't, down the road you can hear the sounds of a phantom carriage being pulled by horses. But that didn't happen to us. So, anything else in Rugby that I'm leaving out?
Not that I can think of.
Did- got-
It's a really cool place. You can,
We're going to go back.
when the town is open, you can go to the visitor center. There is a video that they show about the history of the town. It's very set up similar to if you go to one of our national parks. You know how you can watch a little historical video and everything, and it's kind of set up the same way. So it was really neat to watch that, and then I highly recommend the walking tour. The buildings on the inside are just super awesome. I'm gonna, of course, post pictures of that as well.
For all you bibliophiles out there, the library.
Oh my goodness.
So all the books that are in the library, they are the original editions and original books that were in there when the town was
8,000
founded.
books.
Yes. I think they said half of them were donated by the people in the town, and then the remaining ones had been collected and purchased over the years. First editions of multiple books, Shakespearean plays. There was, and I can't even give you an accurate measurement, it was the width of the wall, double stacked. Leah pointed it out to me, and she's like, this would be your kind of thing. It was a copy of every correspondence, both North and South, that was ever sent during the Civil War. And these volumes were like this big. And they went from wall to wall, double stacked. And evidently, if you're in the town and you're staying there, you can make an appointment to come look at any book in the library.
You can make an appointment with the librarian to sit and look through the books and just hang out.
And now we weren't allowed to touch them because we're just on the walking tour. But it was just, if you like the smell of old books, this place is your heaven.
That was my favorite place.
And then from there, we wrapped up our trip in Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg. Nothing paranormal there, but we did have a sighting. My first sighting ever of a black bear.
Not just one. No, there was more than.
No, there was 5 or 6. I don't
Yes.
remember now. Multiple black bears. The first one we saw, we were driving through Cades Cove, and there was a lot of people out that weekend. And we kind of could see up over the hill that there's a whole bunch of people standing in a field outside of their cars, and like, something's going on. We're going to have to go check it out. And we got out there. There's just a black bear out there roaming around in the field.
Yeah, we were about 50 yards from it, which is the legal,
minimum. Yeah.
legal distance from it. But I got some pictures of it. Of course, the grass was about as tall as it was. So, I mean, you can see it. There's not any really good pictures, but I'll post some of those just so you can kind of get an idea. But I got his face a little bit, but
Black
he wouldn't
bears.
stand up for me.
Multiple deer, doe. We saw a couple.
Oh, saw it was a 6 or an 8 pointer that still had the velvet on his
Couple of
antlers.
bucks.
It was really cool. Turkeys.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the turkeys. Crow. We had a crow follow us for a little bit.
Yeah.
But all in all, I mean, it was a really, really fun trip. We got to see a lot of different things that we wouldn't normally have gotten to see. Got to cross some stuff off some bucket lists. I think we don't have a time for it, but we've already decided that on our next trip, we're probably we stayed mostly east. We're considering going west. And there's a couple of places we've talked about we want to hit. We've never been to New Orleans. So, of course, most haunted city in America. And then,
I thought that was Savannah.
I don't know, maybe I've always heard it from New Orleans. I've always heard it from New Orleans.
I've been to Savannah.
Leah's been to Savannah.
And that's some haunt.
I ain't been there yet.
Some height.
Haint. There's some boogers and ghosts and stuff out there. But we've talked about going to New Orleans, and then because it would be on the trip back, or maybe on the trip down, I don't know, going to Memphis to see Graceland, because why not? We might see the ghost of Elvis. But there is no ghost of Elvis because
No,
he's still alive.
He works at KFC in Kentucky. Everybody knows that.
Well, no, the last thing I saw there's actually a theory, I'm going to have to share this, and there's pictures involved in it too. You can look them up online, but evidently Elvis is still alive and he's posing as a groundskeeper at Graceland, and they've taken pictures of this guy, and he does look like a heavy-set Elvis with a white beard. But Elvis would be in his 90s, 80s or 90s by now. Unless this guy's on a good plastic surgeon regimen, he's clearly not in his 80s
he
or
could
90s.
afford it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the king.
Wow.
I mean, you're not truly from the South unless you say, you can talk about Jesus all you won't believe the king out of this. All right, guys, that's all I've got. That was our trip. Leah, do you want to add anything that I missed? I think I hit all the high points.
No.
But
I'm sorry I couldn't remember a lot. And I'm sorry he didn't take notes.
I did take notes.
Better notes.
Bitter notes. So anyway.
But yeah, I'll try to get through those pictures as soon as possible so you guys can get an idea of some of the things that we discussed, and just to get also a view of what things looked like. And if you haven't already, I encourage you to check out those videos, especially the very short EVP session that we did in
the bunker at the TNT plant.
That was really cool. So just wanted to encourage you to do that.
Yeah, and if you haven't already, go click on the link on our Facebook page to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get your friends to subscribe. Get all 1,000+ people on our page to subscribe, and then we can start going live from there.
Right.
No pressure whatsoever.
Yeah.
But no. Awkward silence. Anyway, well, that's it. We'll be back next month. We'll give you guys a heads up if we decide to go early like we did this month. Let me go ahead and take a look. August the 1st is actually a Sunday. So
we'll be good to
we'll
go.
probably be able to go live on August 1st. And
we're going to, I know we always say this, but we're going to try to do lives from, different areas and take you guys along with us on just like random things that we do from time to time, or whatever, so you can be a part of that.
And the reason that hasn't happened is that we haven't really gone anywhere. Our trip that week was the first time we'd actually been able to get out and do something like that in a while. But we always make it a point, if we go somewhere, just even if it's for a day, like, hey, is there something around here that maybe we could, our viewers would be interested in? And we try, but sometimes, we don't go to exciting places. I mean, look at us.
Thank you, Beverly. I go to exciting places all the time. I don't know about you.
But Erlanger is not an exciting place.
Okay.
Well, anyway. Guys, thanks for spending the evening with us. We will see you August 1st.
Yeah. Now you got to awkwardly get up and push that button.
Where's the button at? I can't see. Oh, look how blue my eyes are.
Bye.